Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Courtney. Thank you for joining me for another video. Before we get started, first and foremost, make sure you guys are subscribed. If you are not a part of the family already, come join, be with us. I'm trying to get more consistent, so make sure you turn on your notifications so that you know when I'm dropping new videos. Hit the subscribe button and let's jump into it. So as you can tell from the title of this video, we are doing some girl talk today, and we're talking about something that we don't really talk about too often, I think, as a community, but I have talked about it a few times on this channel, and that is the DivaCup. I'm not just talking about my point of view, I'm also answering some of your burning questions. I also teamed up with the DivaCup team to answer some questions that I really wasn't qualified to answer, so they were able to give a little bit more insight. So without further ado, let's go. So first we're going to talk about my experience with the DivaCup. If you guys have been a part of my channel for a while, you probably know that I've already done a video and a review on the DivaCup when I did it with my girl Anissa, and I'll link that in the description box or up here somewhere. But if you aren't familiar with the DivaCup and you're not going to go to that video, let me catch you up on what the DivaCup is. So Diva International is a Canadian company that was created by a mother-daughter duo, and together they launched the DivaCup. The DivaCup is a menstrual cup that's made from 100% medical grade silicone, and it's an alternative to traditional period care products. So the DivaCup comes in 3 models, and each model is specifically designed to fit a specific body type or age. So let's start with first what I wear. So I wear model 1, and model 1 is designed for women 30 and under who have not delivered a child vaginally or by C-section. Now, I recently turned 30 just a few weeks ago, so I'll actually be moving over to model 2. And model 2 is designed for women age 30 and over who have delivered vaginally or by C-section. And then DivaCup recently launched model 0, which is for those girls who are under the age of 18. So there is really something for everyone. So let's get into the reasons why I love the DivaCup. If you didn't already know, traditional period care products are typically filled with tons of chemicals and toxins, and I don't know about you, but that's really not something I'm trying to put into my body. The DivaCup doesn't have any added chemicals, plastics, latex dyes, or BPAs. Next, it can be worn for up to 12 hours. Yes, ma'am. 12 hours. 12 hours. So that means that I won't have to worry about changing too often. And last but not least, it's only $40 depending on which retailer you purchase from. So that means instead of having to buy pads and tampons every month, and just think about it, all the money that you save for up to a year. So I've been raving about the DivaCup long enough. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing what I have to say about it. I'm sure you want to hear what other people have to say. So I pulled a few of your testimonials from my last post to see what you guys were talking about. Dynasty Valentine said she's been using the DivaCup for 2 years and she's never going back. Lady J_007 said that I love that you don't have to worry about the issues of your body absorbing chemicals you didn't even know were in your feminine hygiene products. Such a good point. That was definitely a really big point for me when I decided to convert over to the DivaCup. Janelle B. Stewart says, I love my DivaCup. Tosh Boog said, girl, I love my DivaCup, heart eyes. I've been using mine for over 3 years. Miss A. Nunez said, love the DivaCup. I've been using it for 2 years. I don't buy tampons anymore. And Simply Thessa said, best thing ever, been using it for 2 to 3 years. And honestly guys, the comments go on and on and on and on about how much you love it, but there were also a ton of you who are still hesitant or had a ton of questions. So that is another thing we are going to be addressing today. So I pulled a few comments and a few questions. I put a question box up a while back and you guys came up with a ton of questions, and actually a lot of the questions were the same. And some of them can actually be found on the FAQ for DivaCup, but some of them were my own personal opinions, kind of like how I use the DivaCup and how I've been able to manipulate it to fit my lifestyle. And then also there were some questions that you guys had that DivaCup had to come in and kind of give me some answers, because I really just didn't know the answers, if I'm being honest. Okay, so I'm putting it out there before we jump into your questions. Even though I've been using the DivaCup for a while, guys, let's be honest, there is a learning curve. I don't know if you guys remember when you first got your period and you first started using tampons. There's a learning curve. It's not easy. Like, you have to figure out how, you know, to get it right down there. And that's pretty much the same thing with the DivaCup, except you're doing it at an older age. If you're my age, if you're 30 years old and just now converting over to the DivaCup, it does take some time. Give it a few tries. How I went about doing it was whenever I was home for a longer period of time, I would put the DivaCup in and get comfortable with it. I wouldn't really go out with it until I really understood how to insert it, how to make sure the seal was locked in, how to make sure I wasn't leaking, and just make sure everything was right, that I was comfortable, that I wasn't feeling it. Like, those were all important for me to make sure that I was comfortable when I was wearing my DivaCup. Also, don't be nervous. I know the thought of having something like a cup inside of you to catch all your menses, I know that seems really weird and crazy and maybe even gross to some of you guys. It's not. You'd be really surprised. In my last video, I spoke about how deceiving it is looking at a pad and looking at a tampon, about how much blood we actually bleed when we're on our cycle. And the DivaCup kind of gives you it gives you insight into how much you're actually bleeding on your cycle. So you can see the measurement lines, and you can actually monitor how much is being collected, and that might make you feel a little bit more comfortable. Every insertion may not be perfect. I highly suggest whenever you are inserting the DivaCup that you actually take your time and that you're patient with yourself, but sometimes I'm not. And since every insertion is not perfect, and although there is leak-free protection, sometimes if your seal is not locked, you can have a little leakage. First, Curly Mocha asked how to use the DivaCup with long nails. As you can see, I've had claws. I love my claws. I've had my claws since I started using the DivaCup, and it can be a little bit tricky. There are actually 2 ways to fold the DivaCup, and I will show you. We're getting personal here. So this is my DivaCup, and this is what it looks like. This is the DivaCup, and you can fold it 2 ways. You can do the fold down method where it's like you curl it in, and so it looks like this, right? Or you can do the fold in half method where you fold it in half and it's like this. For me, either method works. I don't really have a preference. I guess it depends just how I'm feeling in the moment. I do like the scoop down method. I think that it's a little bit more narrow and it's an easier insert for me. But either way, whatever method you decide to do, the whole point with long nails is to keep your fingernails flush against it. So if you do this method where you fold it in half, use your fingernails as almost as if they're your fingers. Make sure the points are flush against the DivaCup. Same thing if you do the fold down method. Make sure that your fingernails are flush against, and then you insert. So that's how you do it with long nails. You can pinch yourself, you can poke yourself. So that's what I try to avoid. It happens. It doesn't happen enough that it stopped me from using the DivaCup, nor does it hurt enough that it stops me from having long nails. So that's what works for me. Now to remove it, as you can see, there is a stem. DivaCup does not recommend that you use a stem to pull it out, and in the beginning that's what I was doing, but what I figured out is the best way to do it is to really bear down and use your muscles to push the DivaCup out as much as you can, and then you reach up inside you pinch, releasing that suction, and then you can just pull it out. I find also the best way to do it is in the shower, where you have a little bit more freedom to move and manipulate your body so that you can get it out. So Brittanator asked a great question. She said, how do you remove and clean the DivaCup in the public bathrooms? So this is actually a question that's on DivaCup's FAQ, and I'll link it in the description box. But I have yet to experience this as a concern, but I've thought about some ways that you can kind of do it. After reading their FAQ answer, I thought about a way that you can actually do it. First and foremost, obviously make sure you wash your hands very, very well. Since you're in a public bathroom, you may not be in a space where you can wash it privately. So what DivaCup suggests is to take it and take some paper towel into the bathroom with you and then wipe it out the best you can. I thought a great way to do it was to kind of make yourself some on-the-go wipes. So DivaCup does sell Diva Wash, and what it is, a botanically enriched cleanser for your face, body, and the DivaCup. So this is what I use to wash my DivaCup after every use, in addition to boiling it. And it's super simple. You just do a little water, a little wash, and put some paper towels in, put in a little Ziploc baggie, and you can kind of take that on the go. So if you ever do need to wipe down, you can do that, and that's an easy way and for me, a little bit more of a hygienic way to clean your DivaCup and feel a little bit more comfortable before you reinsert it back in. So this is actually a joint question or statement. Armani1110_ said, do you feel any discomfort when wearing it? And Viva La Diva said she bought one, but she's been having difficulty getting used to it. So the answer for me is yes. It was uncomfortable at first, and that's because I wasn't putting it in right. I was actually nervous that it would get lost inside of me, which is crazy to think because I wasn't nervous about a tampon, but I'm nervous about the DivaCup getting lost inside of me. And to be quite honest, it's not possible because your vaginal canal is really only 3 to 4 inches long, so it won't get lost, either one of them. I noticed that it was uncomfortable for me when I was rushing to put it in. I really wasn't taking my time. So my suggestion is to really just be patient when you're inserting your DivaCup, and I think that you'll find it a lot easier and a lot more comfortable. To be quite honest, once you do put it in and you put it in correctly, it's like, whoa, where did it go? It's almost like it disappeared, but trust me, it didn't disappear. But it kind of feels like it's a little freaky because you don't feel it. And as long as it's angled properly, trust me, you won't feel it. Just give it a few times, give it a few practice, and take your time. Try different areas too. Try it like angled over the toilet, try it in the shower, try it standing up, whatever you need to do, squatting, to get the best insertion. And I think once you find the best technique that works for your body type, then you'll be good to go. So Kat LeBlanc asked, how does it stay in place when it's full? I'm assuming there's some technology behind this answer. So yes, you're right. Oh, DivaCup actually helped me with this question. They said, the DivaCup works by naturally being held in position by vaginal muscles. The rim and the 4 tiny holes around it are vital to create a natural seal with the wall of your vaginal canal. When the seal is in place, the DivaCup should not slide down, ride up towards the cervix. However, if there isn't enough muscle tension, the DivaCup may slide down with gravity when it's full. If this happens, contact DivaCup's customer care team and they can offer some kind of support. So I've never, ever, ever, ever had the DivaCup slip out. I've worn it to its maximum amount of time, which is 12 hours. And that even from my heaviest day to my lightest day, I've never had that issue. So I think if you find that they're having that issue, of course, like DivaCup said, contact them and let them know. But I've never had that problem. @_Adina said that as a person with fibroids and heavy bleeding, she's found that she's had to change her cup too often. So from the feedback that DivaCup received, they said that emptying a full cup more than 2 or 3 times per day is not common, but everyone's period may vary. The average monthly flow is approximately 1 to 2 ounces or 30 to 60 milliliters. Since the Model 1 DivaCup holds 1 ounce, you may find you're emptying it more often, but less if you were using tampons or pads. If you're looking for a more sustainable way to manage your flow along with the DivaCup, there are reusable pads or period underwear that can give you more comfort in between changing your cup. The DivaCup has a great blog post for those with heavy flow, so it may be a helpful resource for you. And I will link that below. So if you're having issues with heavy bleeding and you fear or you do experience having to change your DivaCup more often, they do have some information on ways that you can change that or ways that you can supplement using the DivaCup along with another option. Curly Tisha _ said that she hasn't tried the DivaCup yet, but has never tried a tampon. She thinks that she should try a tampon first to get used to the feeling and then try the DivaCup. Do you think this is necessary or recommended? Again, I did not answer this question. DivaCup helped me with this, and they said, although tampons and menstrual cups are internal devices, because they are positioned very differently, it is not necessary to use a tampon before trying the DivaCup. We do know many people who use menstrual cups that have never used tampons before. So that is great to know. If you have never used a tampon before, you can still use a DivaCup. The DivaCup is inserted horizontally towards the tailbone, not up. So I've been using the phrase putting it up. It's actually inserted horizontally. Where a tampon sits high up in the vaginal canal, there's nothing really securing it in place like the DivaCup works to be positioned and held in place by your vaginal muscles. So the rim, as I mentioned before, the rim and the tiny holes create a natural seal with your vaginal canal. So that's it, ladies. I hope I was able to alleviate some of your concerns and answer some of your questions. Please feel free to share your experiences with the DivaCup. If you have any comments or questions or concerns that I'm able to answer for you, I would be happy to do so. I've had an amazing time using the DivaCup and I don't intend on turning back. So I hope I can encourage some of you guys to give it a try and give it a chance. Again, thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to follow me on DivaCup. Mwah.